To answer the question, apparently, obviously, if there has been this engagement of stakeholders, obviously there wouldn't be the level of condemnation that the heart has received, as we are now saying. And I think that those who drafted or copied the bill for Bajabia Mila sat down in a room, and I was jokingly telling my friend, they were just contemplating what should be the benchmark for the income of the family. Should it be 1 million? Oh, that's too much. Should it be 250,000? I think that's too small. Let's put it on 500,000. There was no scientific study, there was no critical analysis, there was no engagement of stakeholders. And that is why people are condemning, that is why there is this much condemnation of the act today. I think Komezikora has done, and Kappa has really done a lot of what we are to do here. And what we will be doing is to just explain further, for the sake of those who still have the illusion that the drafters of the law actually meant well, rather than just trying to dance around the issue, because that is what it is. They rather than address the issues, government officials are known for just dancing around it. They want to give a pretense of listening to the people. And so you will see that budgetary allocation to education has been falling consistently over the past 5 years or so. As at last year, it stood at, I think, 5.4%. 8.8?
Last year, no.
5.4.
No.
I think 5.4.
It's even 4 points. I'll give you that.
It should be around 5.4. It has been falling consistently.
Yes. Okay.
So, and like the Education Rights Campaign and many other groups, Take It Back and so forth, we have been calling for increased budgetary allocation to education. And rather than do that, they come up with a act like this. To say, oh, we are listening to you, so we have a student loan act. And then you know what they also did again? They now deceptively carved it access to higher education. As though with this act, there will be more access, 4.30. And 2021, it was 5.6. I think it was that 5.6 that I remember. 4.30. Whereas UNESCO recommends, I think, between 15 and 20% for a developing country like Nigeria. So they know what is to be done with them. And rather than do that, they want to give a pretense of, oh yeah, we are listening to you. So they come up with what they call access to higher education. If you want to guarantee, Nigeria's illiteracy rate stands at, I think, 31% or around 30%. Those who cannot read and write in Nigeria. By the time we go to those who have access to higher education in Nigeria, you can imagine how low that will be. And rather than, so in a bid to say, okay, we want to increase that, they came up with a act and called it Access to Higher Education Act. If you want to give access to higher education for the poor, you will give grants, you will give scholarships, an act that doesn't even make provision for scholarships, for grants. Purpose of free education is now being tagged access to higher education. That is deception, and people should get that.
I think that's the
Okay. Let me just make the point that we can all do a bit of study. Check Human Development Index by country, which is basically a function of access to education, and check livability of countries. How livable a country is. Some of the most livable countries today are Denmark, Finland, Sweden, and co. Norway and co. The Scandinavians, basically. So please place them side by side. Get list of countries, Human Development Index, then the most livable countries. You will realize that countries with the highest Human Development Index are also the most livable countries. Because people have access to higher education, the country become livable, the society become livable. So with that understanding, you will see that education is not a commodity that you should trade, take 5 naira, then give me education. It is a social service that has to be made available and accessible to every member of the society. You want to develop, give education to people.
Thank you very much.
And don't deceive them. Thank you.
Think about Nigeria. We can't run away from the statement of Kalmeya. This house has fallen. He said Nigeria is a criminally run corporation where the leaders are hiding, are armed and are hiding inside the vault. Look, Nigeria had an agreement, African Union, some years back, where the country committed itself to committing about 15% of our national budget to fund education. Nigeria was not forced. It was a decision that was taken in Abuja. Other countries have been doing that. Ghana, South Africa, some have been doing above that. Nigeria has continued to operate at a very abysmal level. This gives you an idea of the disposition of the elite towards education. Now we have seen it. Because it is not education for the people, but education for their own children and their wards. And that's why they continue to grace some of the best universities in the world, while keeping their own university system in shambles. Down. It is also deliberate. It's also deliberate. Because when you have a citizenry that is enlightened and aware and politically conscious, they will ask questions. Like, why are we where we are in a country that is blessed with all manners of resources, human and natural? But beyond that, again, is you ask yourself, a government that wants to divest from governance, from responsibility to the people, because that's what they're doing, with the subsidy issue. We can't put money in this place because we need money for development in other areas. That's the argument they are making. Why do they want to put money in education directly and say it is tuition, when we have seen what they are doing even with the budget for education in the country? They are not in love with allocating 15% of the budget, but also they are in love with the students, and they want to say tuition and whatever. That's why some of us believe it's a scam. And when you look at it deeply, you realize all the obstacles that Zikora has talked about, they don't want to do anything. You have also seen again the collapse of other similar schemes in the past. The Students' Loan Board of Nigeria Education Bank, why did they collapse? Leakages, default, outright mismanagement, and policy somersaults and all that, they were the same. They are the reasons. Now, from that moment till now, what has significantly changed about the Nigerian space? What is the radical disposition that the elites have shown towards corruption? Nothing. Instead, from that period till now, election has got into an unprecedented corruption to an unprecedented level. So what it means, obviously, is that these are schemes that the elites have set up for the purpose of fleecing the people. These monies are not going to get anywhere. When the Ministry of Humanitarian Service and Disaster also was talking about monies that you are giving Nigerians, even the trader money and all of that, we said this was a scam. Because we have not seen a person who has seen a person who has seen a person who has seen a person that has received this money. If you look at the Nigerian population, by the time you go through 20 people, you would have seen people that will tell you, yes, I collected, I know people who have collected. Now, all of a sudden, the present government has justified what we have been saying. They are saying that the data that was used by the Buhari administration for the purpose of these disbursements was fraudulent.
Of course.
Now, this is the same APC government that has inherited governance at the center. So this is what we are doing, we are saying. And then they talked about 12 million, exactly, for 8,000 naira and so on. When did they do the mapping? Some of us who have been in civil society, we know what it takes. When did they do the mapping to realize that, look, we need 12 million, these are the 12 million people that should have access to this money? Even though Nigerians outrightly dismissed it because it was an insult. Because at the same time that they were talking about giving 2 million Nigerians 8,000 naira, they were busy approving a budget of 70 billion naira for lawmakers to fix for fittings and all that. And then billions of naira also to buy state-of-the-art vehicles. So the insult and the contempt and the disdain for Nigerian people has gotten to a zenith. Now, lastly, look, but people have not seen how insidious, pernicious, and invidious this action of what they are trying to do is. There's a target. The permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education, one David Adejo, talked about a PPP arrangement for our university system. A lot of us have missed it. A public-private partnership for the university system. And that's where they are going. For a very long time, they have wanted to put their hands in our universities. So that you wake up one day, you hear that Toji Kalo now has University of Lagos. Otedola has bought over University of Nigeria and Soka, and this other person, University of Calabar and the rest. That is the target. That is where they have always gone. It is the same thing with our enterprises. Over 350, enterprises in this country. Immediately they took them over. It was asset stripping. That was what happened. Even after promising the government that they were going to do this, retain jobs and the rest, immediately, because it was a collusion between them and certain people in the government. It's not about governance. So if we allow this, there's something somewhere more pernicious that is waiting around the corner. And what they would have done is that they would have also looked for a way to undermine ASU, where they would tell ASU that, look, this is now a private public university situation, and that this is not the federal government that you should be contending with, but the owners, which is a public-private partnership, and that is the target. And so obviously we cannot allow this. We cannot allow this because we already know where this thing is going. We have seen this several times in the past, and so there is nothing new, there is nothing different, and that's why it must be opposed at every turn in time. Thank you very much.
Really represents an effective consolidation on the ongoing neoliberal siege on public education in the country. Because we have generally recognized where they are heading to is generally saying, look, government is effectively taking its hands off funding of public education.
That's it now.
Right? And then they are going towards the direction of astronomical fee increments. What the example he gave you regarding the University of Lagos is simply just a start. There are two documents that point us to the end they are trying to achieve, and it's a document by it's a report, by one Steve Onsayu committee report, and there is another one that was chaired by Professor Wale Babalaki, who happens to be a former pro-chancellor of the University of Lagos. In the Steve Onsayu committee report, it stated clearly that for our public education to compete globally, that students must be made to pay between 450,000 and 525,000 naira. And they did recommended to start with the first generation universities. But the Babalaki committee report took it a bit further, and they rounded it up to, I think, about 900 or 1 million naira
per session.
Per session. Yes, and then it was that report that subsequently recommended that reinforced an education bank. Right? It was that report that reinforced an education bank. So generally speaking, this 150,000, 130,000, in fact,
These are just fees.
I was at a symposium. I was invited to a symposium by the Ife Student Union, where they were also discussing the fact that just like in Unilag, they are also planning to increase fees. And I told them clearly that this is not where they are going. This is exactly where they are going. They are going to charge fees at millions. So, and when the Student Loan Act was talking about 500,000 naira benchmark, I agree with him. They didn't do any calculation, because if you had done any scientific report, you know that less than 1% of Nigerian people have 500,000 naira in their bank accounts. So where exactly did you come about this analysis of 500,000 naira? And there's also another fundamental challenge with our education system. It is that the philosophy of our education system is not production driven. If it is actually production driven, you know that you will need to invest in education in order to expect returns. Yeah. Right? So yes, returns on investment. We are not investing and we are not expecting any returns. All we are concerned about is the stale idea of civil service. We are not interested in producing engineers, right? Because we don't want to produce. We are not interested in delving into the technology business. We are not interested in delving into the IT business. We are not interested in our hospitals competing globally.
Scheme is an act to further commercialize education. Simple. And this is a battle that has been on since the 70s. And just like we heard from Professor Oduko,
Odukoya.
Sorry, Odukoya. Adelaja. I always make that mistake.
Yeah,
And I apologize. In fact, I'm going to hide Odutola to it now. Thank you so much, Prof. Even though we have not been able to watch that. And what's important is that we have all come here to identify one thing. That this is more of a burden than a solution.
Yeah.
Identified. There is no other thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to shock you. There is a national decision that has been taken. And maybe Prof didn't want to break it here. I'm telling you here now that the decision at the University of Lagos is that the minimum fee to be paid is 100,000 for non-lab students. 100,000
Tuition.
And yes.
No, not tuition.
It's not tuition. The total fee. Okay, the total fee to pay. I think it's 100,000 naira, and it's between 100,750 naira for non-lab students. You have 140,000, 250 for those that will be engaging in the use of lab, and you are going to have for the medical students 190,250. That is what is latest, and Unilag has had a meeting yesterday. I know Prof knows. So this is what you are going to be, the minimum you are going to be expecting nationwide. No doubt about that. No doubt about it. So that is what the law actually wanted to establish. But we have all come here to criticize the same thing that we have been criticizing. I know at the beginning of this thing, when it actually came out, we personally at Premium Times, I had a space on it, and we also brought forward the office of the immediate past speaker, who is also the, is recycling, so who is also the chief of staff to the president now, and we actually asked relevant questions. We understand, and if you look at the manner with which the whole act was signed, you will see that this man just wanted to have his name printed on something. Yeah. This thing started around 2016, but he came up on the day he was leaving as somebody who is going to resume as the chief of staff. He didn't want that big, not even minding whether there was enough consultation or not. He just wanted to have it as part of his own record that I started this and I ended it, as if governance is no longer continuous to them. That's one. Then for us within the media, we identify the fact that this challenge belongs to all of us, whether we like it or not. And I'm putting the challenge squarely before even Alaji, who is just here. He's just back from that other side. So I am Professor Tunde Akande. Thank you so much. So what we are saying is that same challenge, something I don't like just repeating what people have been saying, but I like identifying what are the solutions. People come here, we criticize, we do it. He has said something that, okay, we cannot just condemn the government. Yes. What are the alternatives? People have identified that infrastructure should be put in place. At our own level within the journalists wing, we believe that we cannot just continue to be writing and writing and writing. And as a result of that, we added advocacy to what we do. Because each time that we come to you, we interview you, we write, it goes there. And we realize that the same institutions that we should be able to have their voices, they are just like Prof said, they are also part of the larger society. We have seen members of ASU who became third fund leadership. We have seen members of ASU who became TRCA. What has changed? I'm throwing the challenge at him. That beyond ASU coming now to just come and criticize, ASU at one time or the other have also been part and parcel of the system. Take It Back has been part and parcel of the system. Everyone has been part and parcel of the system. Yes, this is the one here. We know. So what we are saying in essence is that beyond just coming to criticize, we need to come up with a recommendation. You can't just leave the system for them to continue to run, and we continue to complain of governance failure. Who makes government? The former chairman, the former executive secretary of Third Fund, who was in Third Fund, was former chairman of ASU and BUK. Am I lying? But when did he leave? He's the secretary of the government of Kano State today. That is Bafa. We knew what transpired. We have seen instances of lecturers who, whether we like it or not, they are members of ASU, who took loan and ran away from the system. We continue to condemn the system while we are also part of the fraud in the system. So it is part of us. Media people have been, it has been commercialized. He who pays the piper dictates the tune. Until that complete overhaul of our system, we will continue to recycle the problem. We will continue. So, and that is why we are appealing to all our headers leaders who are here, I know we have stepped on so many toes here this morning by saying this bitter truth. I apologize ahead because I know I'm going to get my response. But before then, it is also very important for all of us to identify that these people do not have solution to our challenges. But do we continue to leave the system for them? We cannot. So the best thing is for us to provide solutions at a time when you know that you have your partners within the media who will be able to collaborate with you. And that's why we thank Kappa for organizing this, for putting it on.
Experience have shown that given the that Nigerians, the level of poverty in this country is very high. And like it was said there, when this same experiment was done in last week during Governor Fashola, there was a terrible impact, negative impact on the university system. We have a situation where classes are empty, we have lecturers without students. So, and by the, given the condition now that is far worse than what we used to be, I don't think it's a path to go, and I don't think it's a program well thought of. At the end of the day, what we will see is that we will be seeing universities or higher institutions without students because our people have been highly impoverished.
So finally, what are the potential negative consequences of government going ahead to implement this student loan program in Nigeria as a state?
Yeah, the first thing is that we have a very high the level of illiteracy will increase. The next thing is that we have it means that we are signing a permanent pact with underdevelopment and backwardness. It equally implies that there will be crime rate will increase. Then a lot of our lecturers will equally leave because definitely there will be retrenchment in the every tower. You can't have a situation where you have several professors, lecturers, and things like that, and there are no students. The first thing is that there will be right sizing, and that's one of the agendas of World Bank and IMF, and this is what the government is actually tactically implementing.
Thank you so much.
The negative consequences is that this legislation will go on to disenfranchise a lot of Nigerians from accessing education as it is currently. So the legislation, the policy framework as it is, do not favor or does not favor the very demographic which it aims to help. So it is going to ultimately exclude poor Nigerians from accessing education, which is already happening. Yes.